Good evening, and welcome to the Crown Hill Journey. I'm Christina Apt, and I'm your hostess for this journey. I'm also the author of the book that we're reading. And I just got home a little bit ago, and it's snowing like a banshee here. Terribly cold and yucky, and yeah. So I've got two sweaters on tonight to be comfy. And we also have two chapters to read tonight, so I'm going to get right to it. So, cheers for your tea, your coffee, your hot chocolate. I'm thinking about hot chocolate when I get done here tonight. And glasses. And we will begin. Crown Hill, a novel of love, life, and the afterlife. Afterlife. Book 3, Meg. Chapter 3. Brady dropped the heavy tailgate and started transferring groceries from both shopping carts into the bed of his dually truck. The ruggedly handsome man hated shopping and did his best to avoid or at least postpone the task whenever possible. That's why it had been 4 months since his previous trip to Eden's superfine market. As always, the quiet farmer made it a point to do his shopping early to try and dodge conversation. However, today his plan failed miserably. From the moment he parked his truck and headed to the store, people stopped to say hello and find out how he was doing. Brady was born and raised in Eden, a fifth-generation farmer who embraced tilling the land as a valued family responsibility. He learned the art of agriculture from both of his grandfathers, as well as his father, a process that had strongly bonded the men. Theirs was a family well known and respected in the Eden Valley and throughout the surrounding towns. From the day he was born, everyone knew Brady Callahan. "Why, Brady, hello! It's so good to see you, dear. How are you managing?" Brady recognized the voice before the person even came into view. It was Ruth Montgomery, the town gossip. There wasn't a story or an event going on in Eden that was unknown to Ruth. That was why, behind her back, most Edenites called her Motormouth Montgomery. Brady desperately wanted to keep walking and bypass the nosy old woman, but his proper upbringing forced him to turn and politely smile. "I'm doing fine, ma'am. Thank you for your inquiry." Brady hoped that he could escape further conversation by flashing one of his charming smiles. But Ruth was long past the age of flirtatious flattery. "Now, Brady, you can tell me. Your mother and I were childhood friends, after all. How are you really doing on that big old farm all by yourself? It has to be so lonely without Julianne and Colin." Her words jolted Brady like an unwelcome shock of electricity. It was one thing to reflect on the deaths of his wife and baby boy in his own mind, but to share those thoughts with anyone, no less Motormouth Montgomery, that was pretty much beyond impossible. Rude or not, Brady was done. "I appreciate your kindness, Miss Montgomery, but I really have to get to my groceries and get back to the farm for an important appointment. You have a good day, ma'am." Leaving the woman in unusually stunned silence, Brady made his way into Superfine, grabbed a shopping cart, and began loading up. When he filled that cart, he parked it at the checkout and started filling another. In all, it took the determined farmer less than 20 minutes to amass several months' provisions. His shopping frenzy also helped him avoid all but the briefest encounters with other townspeople. Paying the bill, Brady wrangled the shopping carts through the parking lot to his truck and started offloading his groceries. He was one bag away from a safe escape when an overpacked sack of stewed tomato cans gave way and began spilling out in every direction onto the blacktop. Brady started corralling the errant cans while doing his best to dodge drivers entering and exiting the superfine lot. Not exactly the way to avoid attention, he thought to himself. On the far side of the superfine market, Meg Flynn was pulling into the parking area. She and Goldie were on a mission to stock up the pantry and refrigerator in their new home. Meg had a lengthy shopping list running through her mind. She was also still slightly distracted by the rose scent from her bedroom that lingered in her senses. As a result, as she parked the car, she never saw Brady scrambling through the lot. "All right, Goldie, you stay here while I get some groceries. I'll leave the window rolled down for you just a bit, and I'll be back shortly." Opening the door, the preoccupied woman didn't realize that as she stepped out of the car, a can of stewed tomatoes was rolling underneath her. When Meg's foot made contact with the errant can, her body went flying out of control. "Yow!" Meg cried out in surprise as she slipped and skidded to the ground. "Damn! Tuttle damn!" was her next exclamation as her knees and elbows brush-burned along the parking lot's unforgiving surface. Goldie's fervent barking in response to her distressed owner's tumble brought Brady to the rescue. "You okay?" he asked as he bent down to help the unknown woman to her feet. "I guess so," Meg answered as she pushed back the stranger's hand and pulled herself up. Seeing the cause of her spill, Meg bent down and grabbed the canned tomatoes. "What the heck?" Yeah, that's mine. I'm sure sorry. Well, I never imagined that on my first day in Eden I'd be bowled over by a can of stewed tomatoes." Brady was momentarily caught off guard. He wasn't sure if this unknown woman was annoyed or teasing him. However, his concern quickly became irrelevant as Goldie leapt forward through the open car door. Hackles raised and growling, it was clear that the loyal pet was determined to ensure her owner's safety. "Goldie, stop! Stay!" Meg's commands echoed across the parking lot. Yet her pleas fell on deaf ears as the protective pet jumped towards Brady with teeth bared. "Goldie, no! Stop!" It was no use. The devoted dog had only one purpose in mind, to protect her owner. Meg could only imagine how much worse this situation was about to become when, to her amazement, everything changed. "Hey there, girl. Hey, Goldie. Are you trying to take care of your mom? That's a good girl." Brady's soothing words brought immediate results. The golden retriever came to a quick stop, obviously impacted by his tone. With controlled power, Brady dropped to Goldie's level and offered his hand for her consideration. Carefully, the perceptive canine inched her way toward Brady until she got a good scent of him. Slowly, she began wagging her tail, drawing closer to the stranger. A gentle lick of his palm ultimately ended their standoff. "Seems you have a way with animals." Meg's remark caused Brady to stand and make his way to her, hand extended. "My name is Brady Callahan. I don't believe we've met. Did you say you're new to town?" Meg extended her delicate hand into Brady's oversized grasp, which caused her Irish complexion to spike in full bloom color. Yes, I'm new, actually. I moved to Eden just yesterday." A girlish giggle escaped from Meg's heart. Her reaction caused Brady to break into a full-out grin. "It's nice to meet you, but I don't believe I caught your name." Meg pulled her hand away from Brady's, but as she opened her mouth to speak, another giggle escaped. Now fully scarlet with embarrassment, Meg finally formed the words to answer. Meg Flynn." "Well, Meg Flynn, you have a wonderful protector here in Goldie. She's a pretty special dog." Meg's reply was immediate and direct. "Thank you, but now I really have to grab some groceries and get home. Goldie, get in the car, right now." Both man and dog reacted by looking at Meg in a way that made her feel like an outsider. Nonetheless, Goldie quickly responded to her owner's command and obediently returned to the car. Soundly slamming the door behind her dog's wagging tail, Meg spun around toward the grocery store and lost her balance, almost falling again. This time, Brady saved her in his tanned and muscular arms. "Whoops, careful there," he said with another full dimpled grin spreading across his handsome face. "Wouldn't want to make those brush burns on those already tender knees worse." Doing all that she could to right herself from Brady's grasp, Meg mumbled, "Well, it was nice to meet you, I guess." Flashing one more infectious blue-eyed grin, Brady stepped back, allowing Meg to move toward the superfine entrance. "Actually, I enjoyed meeting both you and Goldie, even if it did take a hazardous can of stewed tomatoes to make it happen. Welcome to Eden. I hope you like it here." With that, Brady turned and sauntered back to his pickup, while Meg found herself riveted in place, appreciating the farmer's muscular physique and what her girlfriend Robin would describe as his good-looking buns. Okay, enough. Meg grabbed an empty cart from the middle of the parking lot and focused on the grocery shopping task at hand. But as she moved through the store, the suggestion of sweet roses continued to affect her senses. Upon my reuniting with Mary, my spirit was heartened. My soul was again filled with joy and laughter. Accordingly, when next an Eden farmer considered purchasing me, the goodness within my walls moved him to add his name to my deed. My renewal continued as the farmer and his wife moved under my roof and extended their family with the birth of a daughter. Their shared happiness overflowed my being as neighbors and friends from Eden and beyond once again began crossing my threshold. It was a wondrous pattern that continued for more than a decade. Still, sadness made a return to my being when the father of this young family died unexpectedly. The loss of his love drained the lives of his grieving wife and daughter. It also made them determined to remain within me, close to his memory. It was a challenging life, which they met with resolve. When the upkeep of the lawns became unmanageable, the two purchased goats to keep short the grass. They made further use of their livestock by milking and selling the milk produced by the goat herd. Mother and daughter planted and harvested vegetables, raised chickens for meat and eggs, and took in sewing jobs, all of which made it possible to sustain their value Crown Hill world. Life then again changed for the two women as nature took its course, and the maturing daughter fell in love and made plans to begin a wedded life of her own. Although mother and child briefly considered joining their families together under my roof, they wisely realized the best course was to move on to their individual futures. On a cold, blustery January day, the two devoted women walked through my rooms one last time before passing ownership to another family. This one defined by a rousing brood of 10 children. For the ensuing 30 years, the active clan and their many friends filled each and every inch of my space. To my great pleasure, all school events and many town celebrations were followed by a party of people streaming through my entryways. My good standing in the Eden community continued as the children worked with their father to raise a 2-story barn behind me next to the woodshed. A variety of horses and dogs, occupied the barn's main level, while a basketball court took center stage on the floor above. Life literally flourished within and around me as each family member brought their own unique energy into my being. As for Mary and I, we entered peacefully into a world where she did her best to accept her continued existence on earth, and I offered my most nurturing power to soothe her discomfort. We spoke not of Owen, other than an agreement that Mary insisted upon, that I would no longer try to aid her in passing. She believed that our pact would prevent Owen from ever again forcing her from me. Although unsure, I made a promise to abide by her wishes. Remarkably, in accordance with Mary's plan, Owen's evil did not resurface within me. And though I was aware that Mary continued to deal with Owen's darkness outside of my being, that knowledge never came between us. We were together and seemingly safe, and that was all that mattered at that time. Chapter 4. From her place at the kitchen sink, Meg could hear the unknown visitor navigating around Crown Hill's circular driveway. She couldn't imagine who would be calling. She really didn't know anyone in the town as of yet. Truth be told, the idea of someone driving up to her door was a bit unnerving. Her life with Cal had conditioned her to stay in the background, where he was in charge, and she was safe. You can't stay in that place anymore. Her inner voice counseled her regularly these days. Meg was not quite sure if the thoughts running through her mind were her own, or perhaps those of a guardian angel, but she was learning to listen and rely on the helpful thoughts. Whoever alights from that car, you need to welcome them into your home and into your new life. It is time. As Meg worked at bolstering her confidence, she moved to the back door. Looking out, she recognized the car as belonging to Catherine Winston, her real estate agent. Meg had randomly connected with Catherine through a house for sale ad. What she didn't know from the ad copy was that Catherine was the ultimate authority on Eden real estate. It was not only that she was a third-generation Eden resident, but also that Catherine possessed an amazingly complete recall of details. She never forgot a name, a family history, or particulars of a property, all of which consistently allowed her to make perfect matches between owners and homes. Meg watched as Catherine parked her car at the end of the curved brick walkway leading to the house. A classic white picket fence and rose-covered arbor accented the sienna path winding to the farmhouse door. Orchards of trees, flowering shrubs, and well-established perennials perfectly accessorized the 14-acre Crown Hill landscape. As the realtor alighted from her car, Meg offered a tentative, "Hello, Catherine." "Meg, so nice to see you," came the realtor's genuine reply as she started up the brick walkway. Yet before Catherine could reach the picket fence, a burst of yellow canine fur came bounding past Meg out the back door. "Goldie, Goldie, stop! Come back!" Meg called out in her best commanding tone. The retriever had no intention of obeying her owner's commands. Instead, she went running directly to Catherine, stopping just short of knocking her over. "Hello, you sweet baby girl. I haven't seen you in a month of Sundays." Catherine drew close to Goldie. "Sit down here and let me give you a nice scratch behind the ears." Without hesitation, Goldie planted herself directly in front of Catherine, anticipating the special attention. "Oh, Goldie, for heaven's sakes, you're going to get Catherine's lovely suit covered with dog hair." Meg headed down the walkway, fully intent on breaking up the evolving love fest between her dog and her realtor. Catherine was a nice enough person, but Meg was still unsure of her true colors. Since her earliest memories, Meg had categorized people by color. It was a youthful diversion that, as she matured, became a self-protective process. Her first recall of connecting a color with a person traced back to a soft and comforting blue luminance that always surrounded her mother. The glow became such a natural part of her mother's appearance that Meg never questioned it. Neither was she surprised when, as a teenager, she began to detect colors around others. The color game was not something Meg could play at will. She couldn't look at someone and imagine or command a color to appear. Rather, hues would randomly materialize as she became familiar with the person. Once she began to understand how the power worked, she realized it as a reliable way to classify people's characters. Generally, blue meant kindness, green, peace and healing, purple, spirituality, yellow, joy, orange, an uplifting or inspiring person. Whenever she saw colors of red around someone, Meg protected herself and expected the unexpected. Such people often were materialistic and focused on getting only what they wanted, no matter the cost. In the same way, colors of brown or black indicated a person of violent or negative character, much like Cal. She had seen browns and blacks surrounding her ex-husband from their first meeting, but deluded herself into believing they didn't matter. Never again, Meg promised herself, never again would she ignore a person's colors. "Oh, Meg, it's all right, really, she's fine." Catherine spoke earnestly, hoping to engage the clearly tentative woman. "I'm at the end of my day and just thought I'd drop by, see how it's going, now that you've moved in. Honestly, I'm not worried at all about Goldie's hair on my suit. She is such a sweet dog." Try as she would, Meg could not allow Catherine's charms to soften her defenses. She was unsettled that the woman had dropped by unexpectedly. The fact that her dog was clearly thrilled with the realtor's appearance didn't help, especially after Goldie's affable parking lot encounter with Brady Callahan earlier in the day. "That's kind of you, Catherine." Meg's words hit the air like rivets. "But Goldie has been a bit out of control lately. I really need to rein her in. Goldie, come over here now." The force of the owner's voice caused the loyal dog to jump and scoot to Meg's side almost in a singular motion. Her instant reaction startled both women into smiles that helped lessen the tension between them. Catherine realized the opportunity and proceeded gently. "Meg, I know that I probably shouldn't have stopped without calling, but you have been on my mind for the last few days. I heard that you moved in, and I wanted to be sure that everything was okay. The fact that you're living here at Crown Hill is just so special. It was really meant to happen. I felt it from the moment I first saw you on the property. So if there's any way that I can help you get settled, I'd be more than happy to do so." For some reason, every sentence Catherine spoke raised red flags in Meg's mind. Yet when she looked at the realtor, there was a complete absence of color around her. No way to really know whether to trust this woman or not. Meg hated when she had to rely solely on her gut as her people guide. "Thanks, Catherine. I do appreciate you checking in." That felt okay, Meg thought. Maybe try another step. "It's interesting that you say I'm meant to live here at Crown Hill. What makes you think that?" It was more of a giant leap than a step, but Meg couldn't help herself. She had experienced the same feeling about buying the farm and had wondered about it. Perhaps, she thought, Catherine possessed some wisdom that could help her rationalize her thoughts. "Actually, it's something that I experience quite often in my real estate work," Catherine replied with casual caution. It's a bit hard to explain exactly other than to say I've been selling houses for a long time in this town. My experience have taught me pretty much all there is to know about Eden's homes and properties. Add to that everything the job has taught me about people and human nature, and I guess it all adds up to having sort of a sixth sense about such things. I hope that doesn't sound too weird or spooky. It's not as if I'm some kind of psychic. It's more a combination of knowledge and experience that guide my thoughts. Anyway, there was no doubt in my mind that you and Crown Hill were a match, and I am so glad that it has all worked out. Catherine's explanation made sense to Meg, which made it a lot easier to consider the realtor's visit as a neighborly gesture. Maybe she should invite Catherine in for a cup of tea, if she could even manage to find tea bags and mugs to serve her guest. Catherine, I'd love to invite you in, but truthfully, the house is littered with boxes and unpacked debris. Perhaps we could make a date a few weeks from now when I'm a bit more settled. It was the best Meg could manage. Oh, Meg, I completely understand, and I didn't come to stay. I truly just stopped by to see if you needed anything. I'll tell you what, I'll call you later this month and we'll figure out a date and time that works for both of us. Catherine extended her hand toward Meg to say goodbye. In response, Meg moved forward, which released Goldie from her mistress's side. The loving pet sprang toward Catherine, eagerly nudging her hand for attention. The two women again shared a smile, this time radiating a warmth between them. By the way, Meg, did you know that your home had been purchased twice as a wedding gift? The question was innocent enough, and Meg was quite sure that Catherine had no ulterior motive in asking, yet something about the query caused an immediate knot in Meg's gut. Not a good sign. Why no, I never heard that before, but then I really don't know that much about the history of the farm. Yes, in 1886, Owen Southwick proposed to Mary Stickney. When she accepted, he purchased the farm and gave it to her as a wedding gift. Then again in 1931, Henry Miller bought the farm as a wedding gift for his fiancée Julia. Just a couple of romantic stories that I thought you might enjoy. Still somehow uncomfortable with the conversation, Meg simply smiled and nodded. As Catherine turned and walked to her car, Goldie playfully kept pace alongside. The realtor paused and reached down to bestow one last scratch. You be a good girl for your mom, Goldie. Then looking up, Catherine added, and you take care, Meg. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to get unpacked and settled right away. There's always time. And if you decide you want help, give me a call. I'm a pretty good room organizer, if I do say so myself. From Catherine's view, Meg's lithe figure was perfectly framed within the arbor's drape of sweet-scented roses. That arbor is so gorgeous, Meg. Mary Southwick, one of the women who was given the farm as a wedding gift, those roses were started from slips she started 100 years ago. According to some of your neighbors whose families have lived on this road for generations, Mary planted most every tree, shrub, and perennial still growing here at Crown Hill. But she especially loved roses. I bet she's smiling these days with all the blooms on that arbor. Well, anyway, take care. With a wave, Catherine was in her car, exiting the driveway, leaving Meg to process all she had just heard about Mary Southwick. Once again on their own, dog and owner made their way along the brick path to the house, pausing as they passed under the blooming arbor. Catherine was right, Meg thought as she marveled at the archway. These roses are beautiful. Luxuriating in the lush blossoms, Meg tried to imagine a vision of Mary Southwick. Instead, her mind became entranced by the realization that she was once again immersed in a rose-filled fragrance, the same scent that had filtered through her bedroom earlier that day. Unnerved, Meg herded Goldie into the house and locked the door behind them. And as she did, she wondered if she was locking her concerns outside or in. During this time that we were together, Mary was often silent within me. I was troubled by her withdrawal, but I also understood that she was stilled by her constant struggle with Owen and by her deep desire to pass that she continually suppressed. Eventually, I accepted the need for Mary's quietude and gave my energies to simply loving her more. Ultimately, to our shared delight, this time of stillness ended with the arrival of new owners on my doorstep. The previous family of 10 children had grown and moved on to their own lives, their parents no longer in need of my 8 bedrooms and my oversized kitchen and dining room. Thus, they sold me to a commune, a community dedicated to creating a life of spirituality and peace. The presence of the caring commune members reinvigorated Mary. I often found her in their community meditation room, where followers gathered daily, or outside in their purification lodge, where cleansing ceremonies were held. My sweet Mary was not present to haunt, but rather to gather strength and blessings from the many graces the commune members were creating and sharing. The commune's dedication to spiritual renewal gradually wove a protective layer over my walls and across my eaves. The purity of those within the community drove away all evil and allowed none to enter me. It was within that space of goodness that Mary and I cautiously began a return to our life of conversation and laughter, music and joy. Oh, Crown Hill, I have need of you in a way that we have not shared in many years. I am so grateful to once again be part of you in a place where we can truly share our spirits and again be one. My Mary, only you can know the strength of our love that has kept us together through so many darknesses, and which now again connects us within this goodness. While I know your spirit holds a continued desire to pass, for now, let us celebrate this sense of renewal and hold close these joyful feelings. Let this time be the light that you seek for as long as it can be. Mary and I remained in this place of goodness for years, magically suspended in time, innocently unaware of the changes that one day would take place upon the commune's leave-taking and Meg Flynn's arrival. We made it. 2 chapters. So, more information. You're learning more about Meg. And the only thing I do want to tell you, because I know 2 chapters took a long time, but all that information about the different owners is true. There was a family that married. They had a husband and wife that married. They had a child. The father died. The mother and the daughter stayed. They had goats. They raised chickens. They did whatever they could to stay there, but it got where they couldn't afford it, so they left. And then the next people they sold to were the family of 10, which ended up being the Crow family, who I came to know, and they came back to visit and have family reunions at the farm at Crown Hill twice while I lived there, and we remain good friends now. And then after that, there was a commune for 17 years. A man named Dan Winter headed the commune. His family owned S&S Electric. Some of you may know that. His mom was Thelma Winter. So the artist, some of you may know her. And Dan was there for 17 years with the commune. And I bought it from Dan. So there you go. Lots of real life stories woven into the love life and the afterlife of Crown Hill. So thank you so much. That's the last time we'll do 2 chapters. The rest of the book, we're halfway. This is halfway. We will finish on the 30th of April. So thank you for continuing to joy. I hope you are enjoying it, and I hope that you find that it's charming to you. It is a charming story to me. There will be parts that will be a little creepy, scary, but that's part of the fun too. So thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night at 7:30 for Chapter 5. Love all the connections. I do too, Peggy, and I love connecting with all of you. So thank you. And I'm sorry I can't wave to everybody and say hello, but it's all I can do to focus and see and read. So I'll see you tomorrow.